You're watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Now, the 2023-2024 legal year has commenced with the Court of Appeal holding a special court session in Abuja. The legal year ceremony is a long-established tradition ushering in the new legal year and also provides an opportunity for justices to reflect on the successes and challenges of the previous year, review them and explore what lies ahead. Now, we'll be talking about this in the studio. We'll talk about, the judiciary so far. And we have Barrister Kenneth Nwandinjo Osemeha in the studio to talk about this. He is the principal partner of Kenneth Nwandinjo Osemeha and co. And also, we're expecting to join shortly Murtala Abdurrashid SAN on the program to talk about this legal year. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Barrister. In case of mispronounce your name, please pardon me.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. It's a pleasure.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's start with the significance of legal year. And for many of our audience or viewers who are watching will be thinking, okay, so how is it that the legal profession has its own legal year, different from the general year that we all have, as a people and so on? How significant is this legal year?
Yeah, thank you. Before we talk about the significance, we should be talking about what is legal year. The legal year simply means the calendar year wherein justice sits and decide matters. That is just the ordinary meaning. It is very significant for the legal profession because it shows the beginning, the period of a calendar year wherein judges on their part does their sacred duty. And we'll talk about the sacred duty. It simply means the duty imposed by the law on the judicial officers. Mm-hmm. You sit, cases are brought before your table, you determine those cases, you look at the merits of the cases, the evidence of the parties which are weighed in the imaginary scale. Then, after that, the one that weigh most, judgment is being decided in the favor of such a party, either the claimant or the defendant. Because if a claimant before a court has no evidence to prove his case, he has nothing. And likewise, the defendant, the court may not suit or may give judgment if there is any evidence in accordance with the law, not just what the court thinks. Even when justice is being done, justice is not, it does not go on a wide range. It's not slippery, it's not watery. It simply means make your ruling or your findings or judgment in accordance with the law.
Barrister, I mean,
yes.
Legal year is something that we see comes every year with this excitement for legal practitioners. Yeah. Also, there is award presentation, and also there is always speeches from, say, the AGF, the CJN, calling on the legal practitioners on actually aligning their goals of what to do for the next year or coming year. So what does it feel like for you as a legal practitioner?
Yes, for me as a legal practitioner, when you talk about a legal year, like the legal year for 2023/24, to me it simply means I'm looking forward to seeing new things evolving within the judiciary. The past legal year, what was done, what we achieved, where we got through, how the law evolves, the confidence of judges to dispense justice without fear of favor, without interference from the executive, from the legislature, without interference from politicians. Because as a judge, before you assume before you are appointed as a judge, you must make up your mind. Not somebody who is doing tailoring in wholesale market because he's puts 10-year post score will be appointed as a judge. Somebody left to me who is the legal practice, full legal practice.
Okay, the previous legal year now, we'll put it that way, is marked by the elections that we had to 2023 general elections, and arising from that election, we've seen a lot of litigations, really, from politicians and so on. The Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court all have ruled out the number of, cases that were attended to within that year, and quite a number of them were electoral matters and so on. If I may read from here, the appeal court, for instance, talks about the appellate court dealing with 557 petitions associated with State House of Assembly elections, 83 governorship elections petitions, and also 28 states participated in governorship elections, and petitions were filed in 24 states and so on. So looking at the numbers, but for many Nigerians who are probably watching us, some are quite disappointed and dissatisfied with the way the judiciary has, dealt with some of these petitions at the courts. There are complaints about inconsistency and so on. In fact, as of now, we are talking about a story from Kano that said, supporters of the NNPP are out there protesting and so on. And the lead story on Daily Trust, says, the CJN talking says that we will never be overwhelmed by a mob. That's what it is. So just to paint the picture of what we're dealing with now, how do you think that the judiciary right now has that trust from members of the public?
Sir, before I proceed with answering the question, you see, the law abhors sentiment. No matter how the hill one cries, if the law is the law must be the law. What I mean by this is this, like election petition, when the petitioner is filing his petition, you must be garbed with enough evidence. You must be able to prove what you are talking about. Like during the election, presidential election, for instance, you see some people were shouting, this man will win, this man has won. It's not a matter of what the public, though judgment must be made to look so that the public might have confidence in the judiciary. But most times, most of us or the public do not look at the law. They look at the sentiment. This is a preferred candidate who must win the election or must win an election petition. In the petition.
But we've heard from arguments from even lawyers who are representing parties in court, make the arguments that there seem to be some kind of inconsistency in the judgments that we've seen. So for instance, in one breath we hear issues of nomination are considered pre-election matters in some cases. And in some cases we hear that they are both pre and post-election matters. And you hear lawyers like you, talk about this as being inconsistent. So it's not merely about what even the members of the public are saying, but even from members of the legal profession.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You see, cases are based on how do I put it now? It's based on what is brought before a judge. It is not by being inconsistent or not. Assuming I'm the one petitioner who file an action before you if you are a judge. You understand? You deal with the matter with what is provided, what is available, like an evidence. If the same matter is taken to another judge, most times you could see that the facts may not be similar. Are you listening, sir? The facts may not be similar. And more so, look at the judge. You see, when matters are brought, like the way you make your decision may not be the way the other one will look at it.
But aren't they supposed to all rely on the same evidence and the same, what do you call it now? Cases put before them?
Sir, most times you may bring it as facts before it, but it's the same evidence. Are they the same evidence brought before the court? That is just the precious truth. You could bring an action here. In another breath, it's a different thing entirely. What I mean is this, that when the judge is deciding on a matter, the judge looks at the evidence, the facts. One, what is the cause? You listen, sir. What is the petition itself? What are the evidence that are proved that is brought before the court to decide on? Somebody who is prosecuting a matter here, definitely you cannot bring a matter, the same fact, the same evidence here, and the same fact. No, that is in the other breath. That is abuse of court process. most lawyers who says, or public who said, this is the same fact, they are contradictory. Look at, if you lay hand on a petition brought before you, or that is instituted before a judge, you read through, look at the facts, and look at the evidence. Then look at the other one. Because most times, what the issue that is raised here may look similar, but the fact, the evidence provided the other way may not be the same. I mean, so the judge will not look at, because my learned brother has decided on a matter, I should also rely on it. They are court of coordinate jurisdiction. They look at the decision of the higher court to decide on and follow. But before you could make your decision.
You know, this thing that Ayuba asked is something that has created a lot of controversy and arguments, where some Nigerians have the opinion that there should be a bit of rechecking of the constitution going through that, and also some acts, you know, that guide the judicial system. Yes. Considering there is still that bit of confusion that even I am not cleared of. There are some points where they would say that, okay, this is a pre-election matter. That was what he was emphasizing on. Okay. And then there would be another part, and they will tell you, no, it's not. It's something that the court should be able to handle. There's a bit of confusion for a layman, for a typical Nigerian that does not really understand how you know, some of these acts work. So could it be that there needs to be a revisit on, you know, some of the constitution laws and acts? That way Nigerians will be clear, and there won't be any misconception, and there won't be any kind of you know, misjudgment from Nigerian people, because there is no trust now. Yes. The trust is quite limited.
Yes, I understand what you mean now. You see, I have in a different angle answer the question. I am saying a matter can be instituted before you. You are the one who is determining the matter. You look at issues raised. You decide based on the law or what you understand. It may come to the other judge. The judge may look at it in a different way. That is just the precious truth. Because the law itself looks like an elephant. If you want to define an elephant, you talk, the head is large, the tail, the leg. But another person may start from the other way. That is just the truth, even though it is the law. Did you understand what I mean? Matters are brought. No, it depends on how the judge. Because that is why I said, sorry,
okay,
excuse me. The judgment may be given by you and set aside.
So, but isn't the law supposed to be the guide, and isn't the law objective? Is the law subjective? Is it depending on who is looking at it? You know, or what exactly are you trying to explain? Because if we say that the law is here, yes, you are dealing with the facts and so on. Yes. There are precedences, right? There are, you know, laid down procedures of looking at things.
Very well, sir.
So, should we be seeing a deviation from what the law has already provided as the, you know, what should be the case? The ground norm, like you people say?
Yes, there's no deviation about that. I've told you that. It depends on, see, judges too. Judges are human beings. They are not perfect as God. That is why there is a need for appeal. A matter can be decided. I still hold to that. A matter can be brought before you as a judge, which you have decided. After your decision is made on appeal, it can be set aside. That is why you see in filing notice of appeal, when you said the appellant being dissatisfied with the judgment of the court that delivered on so day, you provide the grounds of it that the later trial judge erred in law. You are listening, sir. The later trial judge erred in law when he heard that. Then in the particulars of error, that despite the fact that so section provide for this, is the judge make decision, which is a miscarriage of justice. There are grounds for appeal. That is why you see that when a matter is brought, a judge can decide based on what he has before the court and within what he understands.
What are some of the challenges that you see in the in our dealing with electoral matters in the 2023 general elections? What are some of the challenges that you identify, you know, as a legal practitioner in terms of dealing with electoral matters in the past few weeks or months that we've been dealing with?
One of the challenges I discovered is this. I'm sorry to tell you this. INEC itself, most times, are not ready to provide evidence that will help a petitioner. Just look at it where from presidential election to governorship. They said, we are deprived from accessing the documents to enable us to prosecute our defense. And most times, these documents have been released lately, very late, at the closure of the mandatory time provided for appeal or for filing a petition. These are one of the grounds. Two, so much interference. I'm very closed. I know what most judges suffer. When cases are on, you see several threats. Threats. The judge may not even tell you that. He may keep it to himself because judges are not seen or heard. The only way judges are heard is through your judgment. No judge comes to a grant interview like we are still seated here. You don't do that as a judge. Interference, as I've told you, from security, from politicians, inducement also. Inducement. I am not saying it's good for a judge to accept anything. I have not given bribe. This is my 18 years at the bar. I've never met a judge for anything. I believe that when I'm prosecuting my matter, if I lose here, I go up. If I lose, until I proceed till the final judgment is decided. I don't come close to judges. Oh, please, you know, we are close, or take this. But I know I've come close to some of them.
With regards to INEC, I'm not sure if you're done outlining some of those challenges that you talk about. You talk about INEC, you talk about interference from the political class.
Interference from the executive, yes.
Okay, any other? Okay, let me just say that.
Sorry, sir. Conducive environment. Conducive environment. You see most petitions where some people barging inside the court, scatter everything. You've not heard of that during this petition. And that is the reason you see that there was relocation to Abuja here and Lagos. Some of the cases, like from Delta and some other states, like Enugu, they decided, Maraba, I visited the place. So if the environment is conducive,
shouldn't the premises be secured, before any sitting?
It is not just the premises, the judges, because if you are appointed now to sit in Borno or in Delta State, my place, it's not only within the vicinity. You have to reside there while doing your job. Then you see the movement. People too, we know. Why you have said, this is one of the judges.
So safety concerns are key there. All right, now, you mentioned the issue of INEC and so on. There are those who make the argument that the burden of proof in an electoral petition or electoral matter should be on INEC and rather than on the petitioners who are, challenging the outcome of an election. Okay. What do you make of that?
You see, the law.
I mean, do you think that the situation will be different if the burden of proof is on INEC, when it comes to, perhaps denying access to evidence for petitioners?
You see, sir, it is the general law. Whoever asserts, section 131, 132, 133 of the Evidence Act, whoever asserts must prove. If you say the election was not conducted in accordance with the Electoral Act, you will go further to state how. You understand, sir?
But here in this instance that you mentioned, if in your attempt to prove, you have to now get some of the evidences from INEC, which is the electoral umpire, and you are facing some kind of resistance or some kind of issues accessing evidence, from INEC. What then happens?
Yes, when you have done that, it is the hopes of INEC to prove that actually we conducted the election in accordance with the Electoral Act. If you are denied access, how a court hasn't made an order, it is left for you. There are procedures when one is disobedient to court order. But what I will also advise judges too, when these complaints are brought before their table, I have not got access to the document I require to prove my petition. The court should take it up from there and must also bring it to the notice of, you are here before me for a judgment or for equity, you must deliver those documents. Let judges, most of them, stand up to make sure that the orders made must be carried out. They don't carry on, but when you come to court to seek indulgence and you are not obeying court order, the court shouldn't shut its eyes.
But it's obvious that, even from one of the challenges that you mentioned about INEC not giving this until close to the latest hour, shouldn't even from the beginning of this things, the court should actually subpoena these people to say, we need you to come, we need you to get the necessary things. That way you're holding these people accountable.
I don't want to call names. In one of the election petition, presidential petition, where the council came in and said, INEC refused us access. There are so many times. Most of the times, you see, when we're talking of petitions, I must be honest with you, most of the problems are INEC. They are biased. I'm sorry to tell you that, because I've also watched. You will see that, okay, why do you think that you brought materials around? In some places, there are no materials. And these things goes off to the destination where election will be conducted. What is the reason for that? And you will not even see an INEC officer there. At the end of the day, you see that result will come out. Look at what happened in Kogisa. When people were alleging that before the election took place, the result has been written. And they displayed the result that was written before the election itself. How do you go about that?
In other countries, we see how a state can actually sue a body. So in cases like this, there's been a lot of chaos in terms of election. Has any state or organization come out to sue the INEC and the judiciary among the cases that was attended to?
They've only sued INEC during the election petition. I've not seen where they were sued differently, or as a body different from maybe misconduct. I think I've not seen that. But I've seen that when election petition in most cases has been prosecuted, INEC are always parties to it because they conducted the election. Where people allege that INEC takes side on the other side, like writing of this result, they deprive us with security agents. You see, most of these problems are not from judges. Because for a judge was not there in the field when the election was being conducted. But what he brings before a judge is what he decides.
Okay, so talking about judges now.
Yes.
You talked about political interference,
yes.
From the political class and so on. How can we protect judges and make sure that they are, independent enough? Because yes, that's another subject, that has been debated over the years about how independent is the judiciary as a matter of fact, even though we know that it is an arm of government on its own that stands. But how independent is our judiciary, and how can we make it much more sophisticated and, if you like, immune from some of these interferences that you talked about?
You see, sir, we have a problem of enforcement of laws. I must be honest with you. In other claims, you see, you don't call a judge who is deciding on a matter. High-profile cases that somebody is calling. I'm close to, so I know some of them who are friends because I've attended for appointment too. I've been in NJC. You see what they go through, you will show, in fact, you will pity them and their family. So when we talk about judicial independence, what does it mean? A judiciary that has a free mind to operate without any interference. And also too, if that is said, I think a judge also should master his mind, irrespective of what you are getting through. That I'm seated here representing God, and I must dispense a case without fear or favor. Most times too, we will say a judge has been, if you are pure, I'm not saying a judge has collected anything. From the onset of your life, you know that you hold nothing against anybody. I don't think somebody should come and just, with one small thing, you go the other way. You must follow suit. That this is my calling. Even if I die here, this is where it ends. So, the issue of autonomy of judges or independence of judges is just on a lip, like what I've told you. First of all, if the government want the judges or the judiciary to be independent, let it be funded, properly funded. Like in Abuja, if you see a case that is being handled by a judge, so many. But apart from FCT, where is the other courts that are conducive? Apart from FCT High Court, are you talking of Zuba? If you go there, you see outside where traders are even selling all other things. Distractions. The place is not even conducive. Make the judiciary, for you to talk about independent, make the judiciary really independent. One, fully funded, increase the numbers of judges to decide on matters. Two, let it be a law that on no account must a politician or the executive call a judge, oh, the state is interested in this matter.
So you're saying there is no law like that currently?
Even if there exists, is it enforceable? There is no law that said that a judiciary must not, it's just hinged on no session.
Must not be
it's
contact.
Yes, it just hinged on independent of judiciary. That is without interference. But I am telling you the truth here, yet the state also interfere.
All right.
That this is a matter the state is interested.
Okay, so I mean,
Yes.
we've looked at what the judiciary needs, but right now let's turn back to the people. I mean,
Yes.
2022, 2023, we know there's a bit of a shaky relationship between the Nigerian citizens and the judicial system. So 2023, 2024 now, there is a bit of what would happen. I mean, we see situations where in China, somebody who is corrupt actually is risking his life, and he knows that anytime, you know, the law would be at his tail. But then in Nigeria, there's a lot of celebration of corruption, and people are, the situation keeps getting worse because there is still no accountability of what someone has done, and money stuck somewhere, and there is this Nigeria's treasury is not even enough to even keep the country afloat. So what should Nigerian citizens expect from the judiciary in this new legal year, and how is the judiciary planning on, you know, making sure that there is that trust between the citizens and the judicial system?
To go into this question, first of all, the people too must have to change their mindset.
How so?
Change your mindset through judiciary. You see, people always say the judiciary, the judiciary. You see, I am involved in criminal matters. I do criminal matters. And who prosecutes? The state. Who is the state? The federal government prosecutes. Who is the prosecutor? Lawyers from the police. If the state is ready to prosecute a case, they should be training and retraining too, because the issue does not only lie on the judiciary. You who is a prosecutor, I'm prosecuting you for armed robbery. I did not call a vital witness, because everybody is singing that this man, they saw him at that stand. The judge was not there. The judge will not give judgment based on your sentiment. That is why I earlier said the law is the law. There must be training and retraining of the prosecutors. First, where they say money shipped somewhere, there must be tangible evidence. Prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. Then the judge is left for it, beyond on the judge. When there's a good evidence, how will a judge shut his eyes and manipulate the sixth step? I'm coming, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Another way around too, the judge too, like this year, they must be ready, because they are losing the confidence of the people. I must be honest, I traveled, somebody was telling me that they are ready to kill all the lawyers. I'm telling you that one day they'll mop all the whole lawyers in Nigeria. I said, what wrong have we done? He said, look at the judgment you people are giving. Any judge who should be appointed should make up its mind from beginning to know that I am going to work. The people are losing confidence. Now we are going to redeem our image. How do you redeem your image? Look at the law, irrespective of what you think anybody is interfering or not interfering. Do your case. No man prepares for a journey without counting the cost. You must be ready to dispense justice without fear or favor. Not just saying we are being threatened. You must be ready. Even if it's a panel, let it be you have only dissenting judgment. This is not good. I wash my hand, because you know what others are doing. I will not be a part of it. Let's leave religion, whether Islam or Christianity. No. Religion itself have a little to contribute to a man. A man who is wicked, is only little. A religion will change you. Once you are ready, I'm going to be appointed as a high court judge. I must do my sacred duty. The people are losing confidence too, because they see that, sorry to tell you this, for you to be a judge, you mustn't be a friend to a politician. If I try, I'm a judge, sitting judge, somebody saw me coming out from a politician's house, or a politician coming out from my house. How? Assuming tomorrow, will you not say, he knows all the politicians? For a judge to be ready, let them, most of them, sorry to say, we know they have politicians as friends. Leave politics and the judiciary. The water flows, it will never meet.
Right.
Once you leave them, do your case. That this is the case I'm called to do.
All right. Well, there's a higher responsibility on the judicial office.
Very well, sir.
Like you have highlighted. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak this morning and sharing your perspectives with us on this matter. Barrister Kenneth Nwandinjo Osemeha is the principal partner of Kenneth Nwandinjo Osemeha and Co., and also a practicing lawyer here in the nation's capital. We look forward to having you again on the program.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll take a short break now, and then when we return, we'll take a look at the highlights and also some of the stories on the front pages of our newspapers, and also get some analysis and perspectives on the dailies. Join us again.
We started manufacturing leather since 1958. But the most important thing is that if the system is checked correctly, we won't have where we are now.
If somebody has depression, they may just be very irritable and unproductive in the office. So you find on average already about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 Nigerians already have a mental illness, a mental health condition that needs some form of attention.
No matter how good an economy is, if the federal government goes bust, believe me, everything in the economy is just a matter of time it will go bust. So first of all, about maybe slightly above, below 70% is in federal government securities.
If government has banned importation of fertilizer and states are doing it at the level of governance, but I believe that production and distribution of fertilizer should be left to the private sector.
This is the general multi-purpose card, and it has a chip here. So this chip is about 80 kilobytes. The one that you get from the bank for ATM is just 4 kilobytes. So this is like 20 times.
Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust Television. Now, we started the show at 8 a.m. So if you missed that part, you do well. Can catch us via our social media platform and also our YouTube live stream. That way you can get an update on whatever happened, at the earliest hour. So right now, at the top of this hour, we'll take a look again at the headlines this morning. The Federal Executive Council approves Nigeria's 2024 budget of 27.50 trillion naira.
Yeah. All right. You have also a fresh protest hit Kano over governorship dispute as police arrest 7.
2023 elections, we will not be overwhelmed by mob action sentiment, says the CJN.
Okay. The Federal Executive Council has approved 27.5 trillion naira as aggregate expenditure for the 2024 appropriation bill. Disclosing this to journalists after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, said that the targeted revenue for next year is 18.32 trillion naira. The minister, who stated that the proposal was an increase of over 1.5 trillion naira when compared to the earlier projection of 26.01 trillion naira, added that the deficit was also lower than that of 2023. According to him, further details of the budget will be released when President Tinubu makes his presentation of the budget to the National Assembly. He further disclosed that the 2024-2026 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, which had been passed by the National Assembly, was further revised.
A fresh protest yesterday erupted in Kano City and its environs, with a demonstration denouncing the recent judgment of the Court of Appeal that sacked the state's governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf. While pockets of protest had taken place since the appellate court's decision, the Monday afternoon's coordinated protest came as a surprise to many following the clampdown on some would-be protesters by the police that led to the arrest of 7 people. In what appeared like a coordinated action, the crowds of protesters stormed strategic positions in the city, leading to heavy traffic, gridlock, and temporary hiccups on commercial activities. The major roads like Kano Zaria Road, Maiduguri Road by Muhammadu Buhari's interchange, and Kano Textile, popularly known as Kantankwari Market, were taken over by hundreds of youths who called for justice for Abba Kabir Yusuf. The Kano State Commissioner of Police, Hussein Gumel, told newsmen that already 7 suspects had been arrested and would be arraigned, while the police had prevailed on both the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) and the All Progressive Congress (the APC) to shelve any plan of mass action over the judgment. The leaderships of the parties have continued to trade words, with the NNPP alleging that the opposition was using federal and presidential might to influence the judiciary to rule in its favors.
All right. Now, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola, has finally reacted to allegations of biased judgment on matters regarding the 2023 general elections. It could be recalled that the election tribunals and the appeal court had nullified elections of public office holders who were elected in the last general election. Some governors, senators, and House of Reps members have been sacked, and supporters of the sacked leaders had accused the judiciary of being hijacked. But speaking at the opening of the special session of the 2023-2024 legal year and the swearing in of 58 newly conferred and senior advocates of Nigeria, the Chief Justice of Nigeria asked judges to remain firm, saying that sentiments should not be confused for law. He urged judges not to be overwhelmed by the sentiments of the mob while deciding on matters. Justice Ariwola said that it is still necessary for judges to have at the back of their minds that public opinions, sentiments, or emotions can never take the place of the law in deciding the cases that come before them. He stated that the law remains the law, no matter whose interest is involved, and all judges need to do as interpreters of the law is to endeavor to sever the strings of emotion from logic and assumptions from fact.
All right. The federal government on Monday unveiled the National Contingency Plan, the NCP, 2023 to 2025 to ensure proper coordination of humanitarian responses in the event of major or catastrophic disaster in the country. Trustee Abdulrahman Umar, who was at the launch of the event, reports that the federal government received the support of international partners in its quest to adequately tackle natural, human-instigated, as well as hybrid disasters. The report.
This occasion marks a significant milestone in Nigeria's collective efforts towards ensuring the safety and well-being of the nation and its people in the face of natural and human-induced emergencies and disasters in the country.
Nigeria has experienced quite a number of human and natural disasters, public health emergencies, and other unforeseen events which can occur at any moment, causing immense devastation and disruption of functioning of the society. It is our duty as disaster managers and citizens to ensure that we are adequately prepared to respond swiftly and efficiently to such situations.
The launching of the National Contingency Plan 2023-2025 for Nigeria will capture grassroots level participation in preparing and mitigating disasters in the country.
Whatever we do in life, we plan. This is a plan that started from the bottom. It started from the communities, to the local government, to the state. We worked with the local government, we worked with the states, and then to the national, with all stakeholders.
The plan evaluated 12 different risks, including flooding, health epidemics, and conflict, with a plan to mitigate their impact. Some of these risks are natural, while others are caused by humans. Even though poverty and socio-economic disparities were identified as contributors to the latter.
International partners and other relevant stakeholders in the country stressed the need for Nigeria to carefully utilize the contingency plan to serve as a guide towards a better response to emergency situations as well as preparedness to mitigate the disasters.
After the devastating floods that affected 4.4 million people in Nigeria in 2022, including some 2.6 million children, and displaced around 2.4 million people, this event today highlights the importance of emergency preparedness.
As OCHA, we pledge to continue to work alongside you and take the contingency planning process even further and look at anticipatory action so that we plan for those anticipated events and be able to address them before they happen.
I hope we have had the plan, we will be referring to it. If not so, the effort of the engineer and all the staff that are involved in taking this program will have been wasted.
We recognize the importance of disaster preparedness and the response in our states, which has been several impacts by various crises, including the insurgents and natural disaster.
This stakeholder engagement will ensure continuous revision of risks across the country by supporting states in developing their contingency plans on early warning systems to enable prevent, prepare and respond to this risk. Abdurrahman Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The House of Representatives says it is committed to greater and more transparent engagement with the public in order to reduce suspicion, build trust and generating support for the work of the legislature. The Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, made this known on Monday while declaring open a one-day capacity building retreat for chairman and deputy chairman of the House committees held in Abuja. The report.
The legislature is the engine room of a democratic government, while chairmen and deputies of committees are said to be the gear that keeps the engine running. This retreat on the theme Improving Legislative Performance Through Effective Committee Management is geared towards establishing clear expectations on how committees will conduct their businesses and how members will participate. In their goodwill messages, stakeholders call for synergy and the need to engage effectively with citizens.
The numerous successes I highlighted earlier were achieved within only 5 months, and every success had the signatures of the entire leadership and the members of the House. It has always been the result of teamwork, diligence, patience, and parsimony.
One of the things that citizens are concerned about is the nature of our public hearings. And since committees will be conducting public hearings, we want to implore that you communicate timelines and the participation of citizens early to encourage citizens to participate.
Former Speaker of the House and Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Bajabiamila, in his submission, made few recommendations that would enhance the ability of the 10th House to perform optimally.
One way to help the Nigerian people to better understand the legislature's role is to expose them to the inner workings of the legislature with a focus on legislative output, such as the publication of oversight and investigative reports. After such reports have been laid and considered on the floor of the House of Representatives, they can be published on a dedicated website as part of efforts to improve transparency and open government and ensure the rest of our fellow citizens understand what legislators do every day.
For the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, the retreat will ensure the efficiency in the work they do and will meet the expectation of taxpayers for the overall good of the nation.
There are 2 or 3 committees that will be handling a particular assignment of the House of Representatives, whether it be investigative or in the course of the appropriation responsibility. Kindly follow the guideline. Let those who are supposed to lead these committees lead well, also with respect to other equal partners in this project, the other chairmen of committees.
In a matter of days, the 2024 Appropriations Bill will be sent to the National Assembly for deliberation, and for the first time, the House will give Nigerians an avenue to participate in 2024 budget process.
As we expect to receive the 2024 Appropriation Bill in the next coming few days, I wish to state that the House will convene a budget town hall meeting to enable citizens to make inputs into the 2024 budget appropriation.
The one-day retreat is expected to improve legislative performance through effective committee management, which involves clear leadership, legislative effectiveness, oversight, audit committee effectiveness, and evidence-based policy making.
Residents of Ede in Osun State have denounced the age-long practice of female genital mutilation due to its harmful effects on girls and women. Now, this is just as the state government is collaborating with law enforcement agents and other partners to prosecute perpetrators of the FGM in the state. Hamid Oyegbade files the report.
Osun State had topped the list of states with high prevalence of female genital mutilation practice in the southwest until recently that the state moved from 77.6% to 45.9%. The FGM practice was rampant in Ede, the hometown of the state governor Ademola Adeleke. The wife of the governor, Titilola Adeleke, said the state government is committed to ensuring total eradication of female genital mutilation practice in the state.
They've been preaching this female circumcision around the Ede community and other Anoshun. So it has reduced, but we want it to we don't want it again.
We are in Ede South local government area where we came for public declaration. So the community members, community leaders, they publicly denounced female genital mutilation. And in this program, they were able to say their commitments on how they want to end female genital mutilation, and also the sanctions that will be given to offenders or anybody that practices the female genital mutilation.
Nursing mothers in Ede said they have been sensitized on the dangers of FGM and promised to ensure that their daughters are not circumcised.
People of Ede have decided not to do it again because it's harmful, it's dangerous, it's not good for the health of the female one, especially the girls.
My baby will not be circumcised because from my husband and my family member, everybody, we all agreed that we are not going to circumcise due to what we heard and the danger that attached to it.
Meanwhile, law enforcement agents have warned that perpetrators of FGM in Osun State will be prosecuted. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
All right. Now, the corpse of Fulani leader Umar Ibrahim, who got missing on Wednesday, has been found in an abandoned well located at Jokon community in Mangu town of Mangu local government area of Plateau State. The deceased was, prior to his death, the Chiroma of Kumbung district of Mangu local government area of the state. The spokesperson of the Operation Safe Haven, a security task force maintaining peace in the state, Captain Oya James, confirmed the incident. Ado Musa has more details.
This is the well where the corpse of the Fulani leader was recovered and is being removed by members of the group who were accompanied by personnel of Operation Safe Haven. Garba Abdullahi, state chairman of the group, explains how the body of their leader was recovered.
Around 6 p.m. on Wednesday, 21st of November 2023, he went out to go and buy food for his patient, that is his wife. So from then, nobody saw him come back. From there, he got missing. So all efforts to locate his whereabouts proved abortive until yesterday. That was Sunday. So his corpse was recovered in one of the wells there, around the eastern part of Mangu Stadium. So some Fulani herders discovered that there was a corpse in that well when they are herding around that place. So they reported the case to the leaders, Fulani leaders, who in turn reported to the security at the FOB of Operation Safe Haven in Mangu, who collectively, the security operatives, more especially of Operation Safe Haven, and the Fulani leaders now converged to the well. Then they saw the corpse, they brought out the corpse and discovered that it was the corpse, the body of that leader that we've been looking for who got missing.
The chairman, however, called on Fulani communities to remain calm and law-abiding.
So we are still calling on the security, since we still have confidence in them, that they should swing into action and unravel the perpetrators of this heinous act and bring them to book. as they did for that Ardo. So I'm calling on them to help do that.
The latest killing of the Chiroma is yet another setback to the continued effort by security agencies to restore peace within Mangu General Area, in view of the fact that the commander of Operation Safe Haven and GOC 3 Division has in recent time organized various peace meetings between Mwagavul and Fulani communities in the area. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Now, those are the much that we can take on the packages this morning. Let's take a short break. When we come back, it will be time to take a look at the front pages of the national dailies. Stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that. But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, thanks for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Time to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak. We'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, where the lead story here talks about the legal year, the event held in to mark the legal year. It says, "We will never be overwhelmed by mob," says CJN, Chief Justice of Nigeria. The writer says, "Judges must avoid embarrassing judiciary," says Yadudu. Courts deciding election winners barred for polity, according to PDP elders, on page 11. That's the lead story. Above that, FEC raises 2024 budget as Tinubu presents 27.5 trillion naira tomorrow, on page 19. Fresh protest hit Kano over governorship dispute as police arrest 7. On page 10, Tinubu reappoints Kyari as NNPCL GCEO, names Akinyelure board chair, on page 3. Then you also have a breakdown of the fact that federal allocations to states, amount shared by states and local governments in 2 years. You have the breakdown. We are talking about 8.8 trillion naira. What can it do? Now you have a breakdown in an infograph there of how much 8.8 trillion naira can do. But is that the case on ground? Is that the situation on ground? States, LGs cry for development despite sharing 8.8 trillion naira in 2 years. The writer says Delta, Rivers, Akwa Ibom get lion's share. CSOs flee leaders' failure, seek accountability. Fund includes salaries, overheads, and others. Amount enough to build 16,000 hospitals for that's 400-kilometer roads. These 4,000-kilometer roads. You'd find all the details on page 4. So these are the things that 8.8 trillion naira can actually do. 16,000 teaching hospitals, 160,000 mass transit buses, you know. But is that really the case on ground? That's what the story is all about. So Daily Trust went further to do an investigation and see what has been done with 8.8 trillion naira. So these are the main stories on the front page of Daily Trust this morning.
Now let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. The lead story says a $1 trillion economy. The federal government proceeds with unambitious budget and proposes 27.5 trillion naira next year. Now there was a bit of a breakdown by the Guardian newspaper of 2024 key estimates, where it says the deficit will be about 9 trillion naira. Inflation would be at 21.4%. Economic growth is on 3.76%. The revenue is 18 trillion naira. And we have about oil production 1.8 MBPD, the oil price $77. Exchange rate is at 750 naira per dollar. The 27.5 trillion naira budget translates to a per capita that citizen spending plan of 127,000 naira or $150. Now below that, we have your Beck bemoans shortage of teachers and 100 billion naira yearly funding. Despite warning, the protest in Kano over Court of Appeal ruling is happened actually. We have the CJN 6 amendment of termination of most cases at appeal court. Now there's been a back and forth on that one there. LCC flays inconsistency in federal government's $1 trillion economy visit, or vision rather, that's according to the MTEF. Now, these are some of the stories on the Guardian newspaper this morning. And there is one that says the untreated relics of the End SARS protest 3 years after. Now, if you want to find that, you can pick up the Guardian newspaper today.
All right, so let's take a look at the Daily Sun newspaper this morning, where you have the lead story there, talks about war over judiciary. It has the writers that says, courts pushing Nigeria to anarchy, Bode George. We won't replace law with mob actions, mob emotions rather. That's according to the CJN, Chief Justice of Nigeria. Tinubu ready to implement reforms, says Fagbemi. You have gunmen kill 2 police officers in Imo. President reappoints NNPCL GCO Mele Kyari, names board members. Obi in London says Africa right destination for investment. Edo Deputy Governor Shuaibu declares for governor, promises prosperity. And you also have Dangote's $20 billion refinery set to list NGX. You have also FEC approves 27 trillion naira as 2024 budget. Other stories beneath there, the very low. Zenith Bank signs MOU with French government for subsidiary establishment in France. These are the main stories on the Daily Sun front page.
This day newspaper at the top of the page there says Zenith Bank French government signed MOU to establish subsidiary in France. Kyari returns as NNPC's GCEO. Akin Yelure becomes new board chairman. Below the headmaster, it says Ariwola unnecessary cases are overstretching the judiciary. We need alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. The vice there says nations can't import foreign laws to try local cases, and declares open last legal year 6 full Supreme Court bench considers it worthy legacy to leave behind. The federal government charges the NJC to fast-track appointment process. The major story here says FEC approves 27.5 trillion naira appropriation bill for 2024, revises the exchange rate to 750 naira per dollar. Oil benchmark now $77.96. OK's $1 billion AFDB concessionary loans. Oye Dele-led tax reforms committee briefs the FEC, and council approves Nigeria's draft human rights report to the UN. Also, Tinubu presents 2024 appropriation bill to the National Assembly tomorrow. And Abbas, we will give Nigerians avenue to participate in budget processing. Okay, now these are some of the stories on this day newspaper.
All right. Let's take a look at the Nation newspaper, where the lead story says Akeredolu Aiyedatiwa peace agreement heads for collapse. You also have above the masthead Shuaibu, I'm intimidated, my allocation ceased. It says the deputy governor joins 2024 race. Supreme Court will get full 21 justices, Ariwola pledges. We did 90 kilometers of roads in 1 year, says Osun government. Keredolu, okay, I've taken that. So you take the story on National Assembly under pressure over 2024 budget. So these are the main stories on the Nation newspaper.
All right now, okay, we'll take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. From the top of the page, it says, attack on judges, public sentiments can't displace the law. That's according to CJN and the NBA. I am best to succeed Obaseki, Shaibu declares. Tinubu names Akinye Lure, NNPC chair, and reappoints Kyari as the CEO. The lead story here says Tinubu presents budget, or word and fake, okays about $1 billion loan. The federal government targets 18 trillion naira revenue, raises exchange rate benchmark from 700 to 750 naira per dollar. Speaker opposition lawmakers assures Nigerians of proper budgeting screening to grill the ministers. There is a pictorial there of President Tinubu, and it says that the president swears in 8 PAM secretaries and presides over the FEC meeting. We have Ondom lawmakers meet today, may declare Aiyedatiwa acting governor. Worker dies 2 injured at Lagos construction site. A sad situation there. We have the Sun gets staff of office December 16 in court holds removal. Now, these are some of the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have in the studio with us Dr. Theophilus Abba, who is the program director of Daily Trust Foundation, joining us today to review this topic. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Of course. So, yes, we have a lot of stories here to talk about, but then let's talk about the FEC approving about 27.5 trillion appropriation bill. And also there is a promise from the House of Representatives saying that they will make sure that Nigerians are involved in all the screening. How true do you think, how possible can this be?
Well, it's good that at least we'll have the budget passed before the 1st of January. So, I mean, in the past, even in February, March, we'll still be fighting over the budget, not signed, not approved, and all this and all that. There's this back and forth, between the National Assembly and the presidency over budget, inviting some ministers or some heads of MDAs to come and defend and all sorts of things, back and forth. So we don't always get the budget approved before the beginning of the year. And from all indications, if this budget is presented to the National Assembly tomorrow, being Wednesday, and they decide to work, on the budget, scrutinize the budget properly, then they should be able to pass the budget and give it to the president to sign before December 31st. And that will be a good development. One of the legacies that the Buhari administration has left behind. Now, when you talk about, involving Nigerians, in passing the budget, actually, the budgeting process ought to begin with the Nigerian people, because if you say you are working on a budget for the people, the first step is to say, okay, what do the people want? And you are not the one who should assume, that the people want ABCD. It shouldn't be based on assumption. There's always supposed to be something like town hall meetings, at the regional level, maybe at 6 geopolitical zones. You meet, people at that level and say, what do you need? What do you think should be included in the budget? That's one. You meet civil society organizations, they will tell you, these are the things that will need to be done. You read newspapers, because newspapers publish stories and they tell you a lot of things that are issues with the people, things that the people expect to be done, roads, hospitals, whatsoever should be the priority of government. You see many of them in newspapers, you read them in editorials, read them in investigative reports. And then you also have to look at the performance of the previous budget. Now, I keep arguing, if you expect that you generate, let's say, 15 trillion out of the 27 trillion, from local revenues, that is tax and other sources of revenue. The question I'll ask is, what did you generate the previous year? If you are expecting to generate 15 trillion, it means that maybe you had generated maybe 12 trillion the previous year. Then look at the instrument that you used to generate this revenue. You see, is there need for any change? I'll give you an example. Now, the cost of importing items, has gone up. And if you don't import, customs will not earn money from duties. Now, if importation dwindles, it means that the duties you expect will go down. So if the duties you expect goes down, and you are expecting, and you are saying in your budget that you earn so and so amount, maybe over and above what you earned last year from duties, you are misleading yourself. We have had instances where, especially at the state level, where state government budget 1 trillion, and at the end of the year, what you record as revenue from the center and from its generated revenue will not be more than 400 billion. Maybe don't even generate 400 billion.
Now, here comes the allocation part.
Yes.
Now, the senator saying that Nigeria should be at rest because they will probe these ministers when it comes to allocation of these funds. But there's always that fear. And each time they come with accountability project, it starts and then it goes quiet. I mean, we're still in the case of COVID-19, fund that was misappropriated. So with all this fear, do you even think it's still the best for the FEC to also approve another $1 billion loan that could also, have a little bit of issues? Should Nigeria be at rest with this judgment, or with this present administration handling that amount of money?
Well, when you talk about these loans, from my own experience as a journalist, I have discovered that most of these loans acquired from, got from multilateral institutions or other countries, have not been properly applied. Classical example, the Abuja Abuja Kaduna Trade Service. The loan was gone from the Chinese. We're actually paying back, but it's not generating the revenue that we expected to have generated. Some of the loans taken to construct roads, some of these roads are bad. So people are not even benefiting from the roads, and the roads are not generating revenue. There are so many things that government has collected loans to execute, but these things were not executed properly, and the revenue that ought to accrue to the country from those projects never came. So it's clear that most of the loans that were taken are misused. I don't know if I'm making sense. So I'm not against taking loans. You understand? But when you take these loans and they are misused and they don't generate the benefit, then those who will repay and the future generation that will repay will only be suffering for nothing. There are so many water projects, maybe from the World Bank, maybe from some development organizations that have been executed in Nigeria. Most of them are not working. Okay. There's so much money on primary healthcare, centers. Spend on primary healthcare center all over Nigeria, many of them not functioning. So why should you take such loans? Okay. So that's my own problem with taking additional loans.
Okay, so looking at a breakdown of that budget, we are talking about 27.5 trillion naira, which is higher than that of 2023, first of all. The revenue of 18 trillion naira, and then we now have a deficit of 9 trillion naira. Okay. How sustainable? So we are looking to fund the deficit. How are we expecting to source for the deficit? By borrowing?
Yes, you go to the issue bonds, and then maybe go to China and IMF and World Bank or other countries that can give you the money. But what does that say? How does that impact on our debt to revenue ratio? That's something that has been talked about us servicing our debt. We're talking about 98%. About 98% of our revenue goes into servicing of debt. Yes. Which is unfortunate.
Exactly. So, how do we continue to do this, and how sustainable is this?
Well, you see, it's not sustainable. Let me tell you. If you look at the countries that are mostly indebted, you talk of Japan. Japan has one of the highest debt in the world. Germany has one of the highest debt in the world. Maybe United States has. But you know what? The economies can sustain this debt. The economies can pay back. Exactly. You understand? So if you go to Japan,
these countries, if we look at the debt to revenue ratio, of those countries.
Is it totally? I mean, they have this, but they pay back, and the revenue is quite high. You understand? They generate a lot of revenue because they export. They produce. They have industrial bases that they produce a lot and export. If you don't produce to export, there's no way you can say you are generating. The reason why we're having this crisis is actually because the major source of revenue that we have is crude oil. Apart from crude oil remittances, you know, you have your cousin in the US, he sends you $50. Those are the two major sources of revenue. But you have countries that are exporting cars. Enter the Nigerian street, and you count all the vehicles that you find there. They're either Toyota or Mercedes or Honda. None of them is produced in Nigeria. Even Innosi Motors, before you can count one Innosi motor, you must have counted 1,000 vehicles from either Japan or from either Germany, and maybe France. France. That is the Toyota district. Now, can you imagine, you know, what the countries that produce these vehicles are earning? Not even from selling the cars to, going from spare parts. Because every day you have to go to the mechanic at Apo, you have to repair your car. Now, the money goes back to France, or goes back to China, goes back to Germany, you know, because they are the ones who produce these spare parts. Now, we don't have any of these things. So when these countries borrow, you know, they can actually multiply that money and pay back. But you just collect, even the oil money. By the time you sell your crude oil, you use a huge chunk of what you earn to import refined products.
And also the crude oil now even used to pay some debt currently. But then you made mention of something really important about what we are even using these loans for. Yes. And if there is a bit of hiccup, then there is always that abandonment from the government, and there is no means of actually restarting that thing and boosting it in order to create revenue. Yes. We saw also how the Nigeria Railway Corporation started generating a huge amount of revenue when it started. I mean, a day there are numbers of people that would transport from Abuja to Kaduna and about, I think, 4 trips from Abuja to Kaduna and backwards. So it's about 8 trips. We
have the population to be able to generate
exactly. But then since that attack, there has been a bit of scare, and then the federal government are not really doing much in order to make that place more secure, gain back the confidence of the Nigerian citizens, the people patronizing things like this. So there is always this narrative of something. If the government starts, they don't see it to the finish. Yes. So do you think that is one of the things that's causing?
It's a major problem. It's a major problem. If you look at what the COVID-19 fund, you know, it's not everything that was like a grant. I mean, that was like a dash. Let me put it that way. You know, some part of the COVID-19 money was loan. You understand? But do you know what's happening now? The National Assembly is proving it. You took loan to deal with healthcare issues, and then we discovered that the money was stolen. If the money was stolen, how are you? I mean, you must pay back. So you're actually paying back stolen money, which is very unfortunate. If you take your time to say, okay, let's look at the loans that government has taken from 1999 to date. You know, if you go to the portal and you see how much government has taken as loan, and you say, let me go and find out the performance of this project, you will be disappointed. You will weep. Because most of them, they are not properly executed. So most of them are abandoned.
A story that seems to, you know, look into that, you know, misappropriation of funds and so on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. There is an analysis here of the FAC allocations that is being shared to states and local governments. In 2 years, states and local governments have received 8.8 trillion naira. And the story went on to do an analysis of how much this amount can actually do in states. And it came up with 4,000 kilometers of road that can be done with that amount, 16,000 teaching hospitals, you know, in the country, and also 160,000 mass transit buses. But I'm not sure if that's the case right now, if we had to go around, you know, the states, you know, and to find out what's on ground in terms of how those money was spent.
You see, in most states, what they do, I mean, to say, okay, they are leading, they are providing leadership just to pay salaries. Just to pay. Many states only pay salaries. And I tell you, if you look at the wage bill, I don't think any state has up to 3 billion naira as wage bill. at most 2 billion as wage bill for local governments and state workers. But I tell you, in some states, this money is not even paid. You know, and the House of Assembly, who are supposed to say, okay, let's ensure that government, the executive does the right thing, is always asleep. Because, I mean, they can't even stand up to the governor to say, okay, this is in the budget. In fact, in many states, budgets are laughable is a document. You know, they will just say, okay, what did we budget last year? Now, let's replicate some of them in this year. And then last year's budget is presented, you know, maybe recast as 2024 budget. You know, then it's presented. Nobody, I mean, goes through the document. The House of Assembly will not go through the document. In fact, there was a story we're doing, and we're saying, okay, go to the House of Assembly and get the budget document. And the lawmakers were saying, we didn't see the budget document. The government only came to read, I mean, the estimated expenditure, revenue and expenditure to us, and then, I mean, we start and the committee passed it. So you have people in the House of Assembly who will not scrutinize, you know, the budget. Even though it is a law, I mean, there's a law now that every state must upload this budget on this portal. You know, but even the House of Assembly, they don't look at the document. And when you see, if you take time to look at the budget document, you'll be shocked. If you look at what budget does, and I think to some extent data file, they look at this budget and they tell you that, look, funny things happen. Even the Auditor General's report at the state level will tell you a lot of things are not going on well, because they will tell you, oh, this was the budget, this was the revenue that we expected to get, but this is what we got. And then for these ones that we got, this is how the money was spent. And if you are not a politically correct Auditor General, you know, you have problems with the governor. And that is because the House of Assembly is not doing its job. Because they are supposed to hold this government accountable, but they won't do it. They just wait, I mean, to get whatever they want to get from the system and then move on. That is not how the democracy is supposed to work.
All right. We also have another story here that seemed to be on many of the dailies this morning. The lead story on Daily Trust captures it this way. It says, we'll never be overwhelmed by mob, says CJN. So, talking about the outcry and the criticism on the judiciary in the aftermath of the judgments that we've seen following the 2023 general elections. Are Nigerians really just being emotional, or really are there issues to be worried about the judiciary?
Okay, you know, I mean, the judiciary is very independent, and we respect them a lot because they are those who know the nuances of the law. So most times, you know, they take decisions that you look at and say, "Oh, is that what it should be?" You know, but what has happened in recent times, and that is why Nigerians are raising alarm, is what I call inconsistencies in the way judgments are passed. You understand? You know, you see the tribunals, the tribunal will make a pronouncement, and then you say, how could there have been this pronouncement? And you say, oh, the Court of Appeal will correct it. Yeah, the Court of Appeal will not correct it. I'll give you an example. Now, we are told that anything that has to do with the nomination of candidate is a pre-election issue. You understand? It's a pre-election issue. Now, you go to a state and you say it's pre-election. And so the Court of Appeal or the Tribunal Court of Appeal say, oh, this is a pre-election issue. It's not something that we should deal with substantially. Then you go to some states, you say, no, it's something that you consider. You know, if you look at the situation,
it says it's pre-election and post-election.
Post-election and pre-election and post-election. Now, in a state, it is pre-election. In another state, it's post and pre-election issue. Now, so you begin to ask yourself, I mean, okay, we know you know the law. You are the ones who own the law. I mean, but then you told us, in this case, this is how it is. Then in the other case, this is how it is.
So it's not
and the unfortunate thing for the judges, is that, you see, this law is not rocket science. The law is, written in English. Many of us can read it. You understand? Okay, you have an election, there was overvoting. And the law says if there's overvoting, this was what we must do. And the judge will say, oh, they agree with INEC, but whatever INEC says is correct. So why do we have the law? If whatever INEC does is correct. They are confusing us. And unfortunately for them, this document is open for all of us to read. I don't know how they interpret, I mean, the document, but the way they are interpreting it is creating confusion.
And they
because
need to
there should be a way,
that.
there should be, I mean, there should be, I mean, there be something that is given.
Right.
Then the unfortunate thing again is that, you see, when people vote and say this is the person we have voted to be our governor, and the judges say no, because of this law, he cannot be governor. I know it becomes something that's quite strange.
Because of time, you know, we have to put a stop to the show right now. Thank you so much for your time, for giving in your perspective on this, the various topics that we talk about. Dr. Theophilus Abba, the Program Director of Daily Trust Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, yes.
Of course. And with that, of course, we wrap up Daybreak on Trust Television. Please do not forget to stick around. At the top of the hour, there will be Sport 360 Sports by Adini Ajishafe. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Do have a lovely day.
And I am Ayuba Ila. Thanks for watching. Join us again tomorrow for another time on the program.